These are going to be a series of basic tutorials on how to use the web app called Sketchpad.io. So you just type in Sketchpad.io and this is the screen that you'll come to. So we're just going to do some basics today and try to make this just a quick video to kind of get you in there. So over here on the left hand side, when you first launch, you will see that you got toolbars and a whole bunch of presets and things like that. Down here in the lower left hand corner, you've got things like creating a new canvas, opening up something, saving, things like that. So let's go ahead and let's do the basics here. If you click on this top icon here, that's going to either open or close your toolbar. Once you open the toolbar, this is pretty much 90% of what you're going to need. Now what's really cool, something that I like about Sketchpad is that it's actually painting and creating brushstrokes as vectors. So when I click on this icon right here, this is the main brush tool. Then you click here and this is going to show you all the different brushes, and there's a lot of really interesting ones. So one of my personal favorites is the tile brush. And the tile brush, when you draw it, just creates this really nice inky brushstroke. If you come down here, you'll see some different settings for the brush. So brush size, and I do like how it shows you a preview. So a little smaller there. One really cool thing about Sketchpad that makes it different from other programs out there is that every single one of these shapes is a vector. So what that means is that if I click on the selection tool, which is the arrow there, I can click and I can move and I can manipulate each one of these brush strokes. When you select a brush stroke, you then get these little handles going around in the box. And if you click and drag on those handles, you can go ahead and scale it up, make it bigger or smaller. You can stretch it and kind of distort it. And you can click and drag on these little rotation arrows, and of course you can go ahead and rotate it. So if you drew something really perfectly, but you don't want to redraw it again, this is great. Now, here's one thing that took me a couple of seconds to figure out. It's erasing. So you go to the brush, you think you should go to the brush picker, and here's the eraser right down here. So when you go to erase, and you start erasing, yes, you are erasing the ink, but you're also erasing the white canvas. So really the best way to erase is to actually choose the selection arrow and then click on something and then press delete on your keyboard, and then that will go away. Interestingly enough, you can actually move the erasing, which is kind of interesting. I haven't found a good use for it yet. If you want to undo, if you're on a Mac, you can press Command Z and you can undo. If you're on a Windows system, you can do Control Z and you can undo. If you want to erase a whole bunch of brush strokes and shapes at once, you just make sure you have the select tool. You click and drag a selection box around all of them, and then when they're all selected, just press delete. Okay, so to zoom in, let me just get back and make a brush stroke here. So if I go ahead, this is the sketchy brush, and you can see that it's making these really interesting patterns here. To zoom in, you've got the magnifying glass right here, and then you get this little widget here where you can zoom out, see the whole canvas, zoom in, zoom to fit, zoom to actual size, all that kind of good stuff. So that's there. Okay, I'm going to go back to the tile brush. So another interesting thing is that when you are painting, let me make that a little bit bigger. When you are painting, you have a bunch of different features here. So color, we already went over size. So color, you just click on the little swatch here, and you can choose all your solid colors, and you got a nice color picker over here with the color ribbon here, so that works. But you can also do gradients and patterns. So here's a linear gradient, and you can click and tap on it and see a preview, so that's pretty cool. So there's that, and if I go ahead and now draw, you'll see that I get those gradients going on through the brush stroke, so that's pretty neat. You can also do radiant or radial, so these are cool. Get some interesting effects. And last but not least, you can choose patterns. And Sketchpad does a pretty good job giving you a lot of different patterns. So I'll just show you what they look like here. So I'll choose this one here, and I'll make my brush a little bit bigger. Okay, so you can see it's kind of like melting and following behind me, which is really interesting. When you choose a pattern, you can then come down here and you can choose tile mode. So this is stretch, and you can see why. If you choose repeat, you'll see that now you can actually see the tile pattern really well. And then you have a mirrored repeat, which is very, very similar. I think stretch and repeat are going to be pretty popular. Okay, I'm just going to finish up with a couple more things. So I'm going to go ahead and take the selection tool, select all, clear them out, go back to the brush. I'm going to go back and choose just a solid color here. So we have the fill. So if I click on the fill here and I choose a color, I'll choose blue, you'll now see next to the fill color and next to the outline color, we have these little ink droplets and it says a percentage. So because I clicked on fill and I chose a color, it automatically made it to 100%. So that means I now have a fill on here. So when I draw, I now get this, which could be really cool. I like how that's going on. But if you don't know how to use the fill and it surprises you, it can be really frustrating. So what you can do to change the opacities, you just put your mouse pointer here or your stylus on the ink droplet, click and drag, and you can change the opacity back down to 0%. And now you're only getting the fill like that. You of course can do the same thing. You can you have to have something. You have to have fill or outline. So I made the outline 0% and the fill came up here, and now you'll see that all I'm getting is the fill. One thing I like to do as an artist, when I'm in the beginning phases, there used to be a really cool drawing program called Alchemy. And now there's one out there called Webchemy that's really cool. But what I like to do is I like to turn on the fill to 100%, no outline, and go ahead and choose a simple color. And one really cool thing is that you can go through here and just make some random shapes and just see what you come up with. And I'm just kind of, flicking my wrist around, moving around. Just don't stay in one spot and just see what you come up with. And at some point, maybe an idea will hit you. So there you go. Okay, not sure what that is. Looks a little bit like somebody sitting down, all stooped over. But all of these are vectors, which is really cool. That really intrigues me. Because they're vectors, I don't know of a way that you can actually blend or smear the paints together. So if you do know how to do that, please put something in the comments below. Okay, finishing up here. If you want to undo, you've got the undo over here, this little left arrow here, and you can redo. You can also, on a Mac, you can press Command Z. On Windows, you can press Control Z. So there you go. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and I want to save. So how can we do this? Well, if you come down here in the bottom left-hand corner, click on the little disk, it says Export, and then you've got a bunch of different options here. You can save it as a PNG or a JPEG, and then you can download it and bring it into another painting app and do that. I recommend that if you want to work on this in another session, choose save.sketchpad, and then you can download it. You can then put it in Google Drive and carry it along with you, or do other things like that. So again, this is just the first video just to kind of get you going. I hope this helps you out. See you next time.